Hey, it's Ben Hardy, and we are over here at the Larry H. Miller Chevy in Provo to look at some trucks because I've noticed a pretty interesting situation that has been arising with a bunch of different Chevy dealerships. First and foremost though, of course, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Chevy in Provo for, well, letting me walk around their lot for this video. If you're looking for a new Chevy, link to their inventory in the description down below. And with that being said, let's get into this topic. So over here on the side of the lot that has all of their brand new trucks, and you guys are probably going to notice a pattern, and then we're going to talk about why that pattern, I guess, exists. So the first truck that they have right now is this right here. So it is a 2022 2500 with the Duramax. Now they probably just got this, and well, this is not really part of the video, but I still had to show it because it is here. And my guess as to why this isn't sold yet is most people like to get the 3500 because it has more payload capacity. But anyways, the next truck they have is this. So it is an LTZ 1500 with the 5.3 V8, and the next one they have is this, which is an LT, new body style as well, with the 5.3 V8. And so those trucks, we will talk about those in a little bit, but the bigger thing is all of these trucks right here. So we've got this one, custom. That one has the 2.7 4-cylinder. We got this one, custom. That one also has the 2.7 4-cylinder. And then we have this one, custom, 2.7 4-cylinder. And guess what? At the end, we have an LT. But guess what powertrain that LT has is the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder, and that is the big topic of today's video. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about the 5.3 V8s quickly. So the 5.3 V8 used to be an incredibly popular engine with people because it's actually pretty dang reliable. It's got decent power outputs, and it's just a good engine overall. But now Chevy has two engines that completely overshadow the 5.3 V8, and that is their 3.0 Duramax, because the 3.0 Duramax has more torque than the 5.3 V8. Yes, it has less horsepower, but it's also a diesel, and so people like that because it gets much better fuel economy. Even though diesel is more expensive, it gets better fuel economy, and it is way more reliable than the 5.3 V8. And then people that want to stick with a V8, well, they can now get a 6.2 V8. And so what you're kind of seeing now within Chevy's lineup is that people don't really want to purchase the 5.3 V8 anymore. So you'll see trucks like this occasionally pop up in today's crazy market where everything's like selling instantaneously, where they aren't selling instantaneously because, well, if someone's going to get an LTZ, they either want to get it with the Duramax or the 6.2, and if someone's going to get an LT, well, they want to get it with the Duramax. They don't really want to get it with the 5.3 V8, and so that's kind of like why that one is still, why these two, I guess I should say, are still on the lot. Now, the next bunch of trucks, which is a larger bunch of trucks, is the four here that have the 2.7 4-cylinder. And like I said, that is the main topic of today's video, and that is the fact that it seems like nobody wants the 2.7 4-cylinder. And so we have to ask ourselves why. And so if we quickly take a look at the window sticker, this might answer some questions for us. So first off, 2.7 liter 4-cylinder, as you guys can see. If the camera will, there you go. 8-speed automatic, and then fuel economy 1720. So it's a 4-cylinder turbocharged with cylinder deactivation, paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, gets 17 around town, then 20 on the highway, which is not bad for a pickup truck. It's actually pretty decent from a fuel economy perspective. But if you look at here, 5.3 V8, 10-speed, 1419. So the 5.3 V8 actually gets slightly worse fuel economy than the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder. Go figure, bigger engine, gets worse fuel economy, but it also has the 10-speed, which is a much better powertrain. Now, we obviously don't have a 6.2 or Duramax here because, again, if they had a 6.2 or Duramax, it would instantly sell, but those are both paired to a 10-speed. The Duramax gets way better fuel economy compared to any of the other powertrains. It's over 20 miles per gallon on average. And then the 6.2 actually gets slightly better fuel economy compared to the 5.3. It averages like 15 around town and then 20 on the highway. And so you guys can see another problem with the 5.3 is you can get a more powerful V8 that gets as good, if not better, fuel economy. So yeah, kind of interesting. So I just hopped in my truck so that we can go look at a couple other lots quickly, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have 6 half tons on their lot, which frankly is very, very small from a number perspective compared to the good old days. Because like back in the day, a dealership like this would have had like, you know, 20, 30 plus trucks on their lots, like half tons, for example, at any given time, potentially even more, just depending on the time of the year and all of that fun stuff. And let me make sure you guys can actually see me here. So, oh yeah, you guys can see me like perfectly fine. But yes, we are in my fix and repair daily, my Ford. had to make the joke. But anyways, I want to see, you know, other dealers that are in the same area, what kind of trucks they have. So if you look at the Ram dealership, they've got a couple heavy, so a heavy duty, half ton, 1, 2, we'll just focus on the half tons for today's video, because this is about half tons. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 new, so they have 4 new half tons, okay? So that is the Ram dealership. So the Chevy dealership just has 2 more. So again, obviously completely different manufacturers, but same area, so same demographic that they are selling to. So the Chevy has +2, which again doesn't sound like a lot on paper, but from a percentage perspective, right, +2 is technically a lot. Now if we go to the Ford dealership, we've got 1, 2, so you guys can see them over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 new trucks at the Ford dealership. So the Chevy dealership has 2 more trucks, half-ton trucks, compared to the Ford and the Ram dealership. And if you guys are wondering from a powertrain perspective, the Ram dealership has all of the same powertrain in their trucks, so all 5.7 Hemis. With the Ford dealership, I believe that it's like split between 3.5 EcoBoost and then 2.7 EcoBoost as well. No 5.0 V8s. But the point that I'm trying to make with this is that in today's crazy market where people are just buying up vehicles like crazy, for some reason, Chevy, on average, is sitting on more trucks compared to Ford and Ram dealers. And this isn't just this area. Like, you guys know I film for a bunch of different dealerships. And when I go to other Chevy, Ford, and Ram dealers, I'm noticing a similar trend where, especially with that 2.7 4-cylinder, Chevy dealerships are just slowly stacking up inventory. It's like they get new shipments of 2.7 4-cylinders and they still haven't sold the old shipments. And again, we are still in a pretty crazy market. So now we've got to make some conclusions based on what we are seeing. And this isn't just like an isolated incident. You guys know I film all over the state and I talk to a bunch of people all over the country. And again, this isn't an isolated incident. Like, all over the country, Ram dealers and Ford dealers seem to have slightly less inventory than Chevy dealers when it comes to pickup trucks, if those Chevy dealers are having a bunch of 2.7 4-cylinder trucks allocated to them. And so what conclusions can we come to based on the fact that this is, again, sort of becoming like a widespread thing? So first off, people don't want the 2.7 4-cylinder. If there was demand, then this market would like really prove that, because people are still buying like everything like crazy. Even though the market's slowed down a little bit, it's still a very hot market. And so, again, it's pretty obvious. Like, people don't want the truck. And I think that Chevy was doing a good job with the 2.7 4-cylinder when they weren't like trying to push it on dealers so hard, because now it's like Chevy's basically like, hey, if you want to get any allocations, 2.7 liter 4-cylinders, you're not really going to get trucks right now, because yeah. And so it puts Chevy dealers into this situation where they're like, okay, yeah, we'll take the 4-banger trucks, and then they just sit on them and they don't sell them for quite some time. Whereas in the past, Chevy didn't really push it on dealers as much. And so like the Chevy in Provo was one of the early adopters here in Utah for the 2.7 4-cylinder. And they actually did extremely well with the 2.7 4-cylinder when it first came out, because again, they were like the only dealer that would carry it. And so people knew that if they were in that niche market for that truck, they could go to the Chevy in Provo and get one. But then, you know, once the pandemic happened and supply chain issues and all that, again, like I said, Chevy started pushing more dealers to take these 4-banger trucks because that's what they could produce from an engine perspective. And so then it basically put dealers in the situation where they have these trucks that they aren't selling, because all of the demand with that powertrain has pretty much been met at this point. People want the 6.2 V8, people want the Duramax, like in very large quantities, and some people still want the 5.3 V8, but like I said, just not as much. It's just not nearly as popular as what it used to be. And so what I'd have to say to kind of remedy this issue is, I think that Chevy should do what they did in the past and basically allow dealers that want the 2.7 4-cylinder to order the 2.7 4-cylinder for the amount of customers they think they're going to be able to meet demand with. And then, you know, if people aren't ordering that engine, don't try to force it upon them. Just hold those trucks until you can throw a Duramax in it, or until you can throw a 6.2 V8 or at least a 5.3 V8, because even though the 2.7 4-cylinder gets decent fuel economy and the torque is there, it's still a 4-cylinder in a truck at the end of the day, from like a mental perspective for buyers. Again, some people, you know, will just completely push that aside. And frankly, most people that comment on my reviews with this powertrain absolutely love the 2.7 4-cylinder. Like, they get great fuel economy with it. They love the power, like they rave about it. But again, there's just the conversion for the people that seem to want that powertrain has pretty much already happened. And again, I guess if the Duramax didn't exist, then I think that more people would go for the 2.7 4-cylinder. But because the Duramax exists, it really scoops up a bunch of that demographic that wants a powertrain that gets good fuel economy. So yeah, it's kind of it's kind of an interesting situation. And so yeah, I want you guys to let me know what you think about this, what you think about the 2.7 4-cylinder, and what you think Chevy should do, because there's obviously a ton of demand for Chevy's trucks still, because like again, I film for the Chevy and Provo all the time. Whenever they get a truck with the Duramax in or the 6.2 V8 in, it literally is like sold before the truck even hits the ground. Like, that's how popular those powertrains are. And so, again, I think that Chevy should probably be focusing more on those right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But like I said, that's not the only lot, and that's not the only, like, I've talked to so many people, and they said the same thing. Like, my lot's filling up with these 4-banger trucks, and I can't sell them. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about, too, before I cap out this video is, if you guys noticed, most of those trucks were the custom package. The custom package has also not been selling as well, it seems, because all of the changes for the 22 refresh happened to LT and above trucks. And so if you get a custom Silverado, you're getting the slightly different exterior styling, but the interior is the same. And so if you buy a custom with the 2.7 4-cylinder, you're basically getting the old truck with a 4-cylinder engine. And so I think that's, you know, for, again, some people love that, but I think that for, and the numbers support it, for most people, that's not what they want. So yeah, that's gonna sum things up. I'll see you.